The Hotak dynasty or the Hotaki dynasty was an Afghan monarchy of the Ghizi Pashtuns, established in April 1709 by Mirwais Hotak after leading a successful revolution against their declining Persian Safavids overlords in Kandahar. It lasted until 1738 when the founder of the Afsharid dynasty, Nader Shah Afshar, defeated Hussein Hotak during the long siege of Kandahar, and started the re-establishment of Iranian suzerainty over all regions lost decades before against the Iranian arch-rival, the Ottomans, and the Russians. At its peak, the Hotak dynasty ruled very briefly over an area which is now Afghanistan, western Pakistan, and large parts of Iran. In 1715, Mirwais died of a natural cause and his brother Abdulaziz succeeded the monarchy. He was quickly followed by Mahmud, who ruled the empire at its largest extent for a mere 3 years. Following the 1729 Battle of Damgan, where Mahmud was roundly defeated by Ashraf Hotak, Mahmud was banished to what is now southern Afghanistan, with Hotak rule being confined to it. Hussein Hotak became the last ruler until he was also defeated in 1738. Rise to power. Kandahar province was ruled by the Shia Safavids as their far easternmost territory from the 16th century until the early 18th century, while the native Afghan tribes living in the area were Sunni Muslims. Immediately to the east began the Sunni Maf'ul Empire, who occasionally fought wars with the powerful Safavids over the territory of southern Afghanistan. The area to the north was controlled by the Khanate of Bukhara at the same time. By the late 17th century, the Iranian Safavids, like their arch-rival the Ottoman Turks, had been starting to heavily decline due to misrule, sectarian strife, and foreign interests. In 1704, the Safavid Shah Hussein appointed his Georgian subject and king of Kartli George XI, who had converted to Islam like many other Georgians under Ottoman or Persian rule, as the commander-in-chief of the easternmost provinces of the Safavid Empire, in what is now Afghanistan. His first task was to quell the uprisings in the region. Gurjin began imprisoning and executing Afghans, especially those suspected of organizing rebellions, successfully crushing the rebellions. One of those arrested and imprisoned was Mirwais, who belonged to an influential Hotak family in Kandahar. Mirwais was sent as a prisoner to the Persian court in Isfahan, but the charges against him were dismissed by Shah Hussein, so he was sent back to his native land as a free man. In April 1709, Mirwais, protected by the Ghaznavid Nasir Khans, and along with his followers revolted against the Safavid rule at Kandahar. The uprising began when Gurjan Khan and his escort were killed during a feast that was organized by Mirwais at his farmhouse outside the city. It is reported that drinking of wine was involved. Next, Mirwais ordered the killings of the remaining Persian military officials in the region. The Afghans then defeated a twice as large Persian army that had been dispatched from Isfahan, one which included Qizilbash and Georgian, Circassian troops. Several half-hearted attempts to subdue the rebellious city having failed, the Persian government dispatched Khusraw Khan, nephew of the late Gurjan Khan, with an army of 30,000 men to effect its subjugation, but in spite of an initial success, which led the Afghans to offer to surrender on terms, his uncompromising attitude impelled them to make a fresh, desperate effort, resulting in the complete defeat of the Persian army and the death of their general. 2 years later, in AD 1713, another Persian army commanded by Rustam Khan was also defeated by the rebels, who thus secured possession of the whole province of Kandahar. Edward G. Brown, 1924. Refusing the title of king, Mirwais was called Prince of Kandahar and General of the National Troops by his Afghan countrymen. He died peacefully in November 1715 from natural causes and was succeeded by his brother Abdulaziz. The latter was murdered later by Mirwais' son, Mahmud. In 1720, Mahmud's Afghan forces crossed the deserts of Sistan and captured Kerman. His plan was to conquer the Persian capital, Isfahan. After defeating the Persian army at the Battle of Gharnabad on March 8, 1722, he proceeded to and besieged Isfahan for 6 months, after which it fell. On October 23, 1722, Sultan Hussein abdicated and acknowledged Mahmud as the new Shah of Persia. The majority of the Persian people, however, rejected the Afghan regime as usurpers from the start. For the next 7 years until 1729, the Hotaks were the de facto rulers of most of Persia, and the southern and eastern areas of Afghanistan still remained under their control until 1738. The Hotak dynasty was a troubled and violent one from the very start, as internecine conflict made it difficult to establish permanent control. The dynasty lived under great turmoil due to bloody succession feuds that made their hold on power tenuous. And after the massacre of thousands of civilians in Isfahan, including more than 3,000 religious scholars, nobles, and members of the Safavid family, the Hotak dynasty was eventually removed from power in Persia. On the other hand, the Afghans had also been suppressed by the Iranian Safavid government represented by its governor Gurjan Khan before their uprising in 1709. Decline. Ashraf Hotak, who took over the monarchy following Shah Mahmud's death in 1725, and his soldiers were crushingly defeated in the October 1729 Battle of Damgan by Nader Shah Afshar, an Iranian soldier of fortune from the Sunni Afshar tribe, and the founder of the Afsharid dynasty that replaced the Safavid in Persia. Nader Shah had driven out and banished the remaining Ghaji forces from Persia and began enlisting some of the Abdali Afghans of Farah and Kandahar in his military. Nader Shah's forces conquered Kandahar in 1738. They besieged and destroyed the last Hotak seat of power, which was held by Hussein Hotak. Nader Shah then built a new town nearby, named after himself, Naderabad. The Abdalis were also restored to the general area of Kandahar, with the Ghajis being pushed back to their former stronghold of Khalat-i Ghaji, an arrangement that lasts to the present day. List of rulers.